All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, excited to be chatting with an individual set to compete at BTC 17 Evolve, and that goes down on September the 24th. It is a bantamweight bout with Karim Henniene taking on Alex Gluzman, and happy to be welcoming Alex back onto the show. How's the day going so far, man? You getting in some good training so far?
Right now I'm just getting my shorts done, getting all my sponsors. Yeah, gonna get some working training later on.
Yeah, and it's been an interesting time the last little bit in your career. It's been a little bit since we last talked, so a couple things I kind of wanted to cover a little bit because, previously you had competed for two different MFL titles in different weight categories, and then you ended up going on to eventually capture that Cage Wars bantamweight belt after those previous two efforts didn't work out when you were in the amateur ranks there. What was that moment like, winning the Cage Wars belt with the backdrop of the two previous title efforts with MFL?
It was like a check in the box, like winning my first MMA title, right? That's all I ever wanted, really.
Yeah, because I saw you had that post where you were saying you were almost in a little bit of a state of disbelief about it, but just being a little bit more removed from that victory even. Did it almost feel like an increment in your career that you're advancing where it's indicative of where you're at? It felt like a necessary kind of move where your work is manifesting into the results. Did it kind of feel like that a little bit? Did it feel a little less surreal, or does it still kind of feel a bit surreal almost?
Well, I mean, obviously, after my fight with Scott Rodriguez, right? You said, I got, when I fought Olivier, I thought I had it, and I didn't get it. So, okay, cool. And when I fought Scott Rodriguez, that didn't go my way either, and in a more decisive fashion. And you got to understand, at the time, Montreal Fight League, it was during this weird time where COVID was still around, and I didn't even know if I was gonna. I thought it'd be a while until I was gonna fight, to be honest.
Yeah, and you've been busy in a multitude of combat sports, it would seem like. It seems like you're getting in some boxing work as well. I understand you also won a boxing belt with Scorpion Combat earlier in the year. Can you talk about some of that you've been doing, just the pure stand-up arts there?
Again, that was a check in the box, and, Scorpion Combat, they're fucking amazing for just putting on shows when... even in a time when they were active when COVID was still around. They did not shut down, and they're fucking awesome for it. And it was honestly, I never thought I'd win a boxing fight. I never even thought I would even be having boxing fights. It just happened. The timing was awesome, and I don't know. I'm glad it happened. I just never thought it would ever happen, to be honest.
Yeah, it seems like you've had a fairly active competitive year as well. It looks like this is going to be either the 7th or even 8th bout of the year. It looks like you got a few Scorpion Combat bouts in there. So can you speak to that, rate of activity and how beneficial this calendar year has been for you as a fighter overall?
I say this, I'm going to tell you what I told everybody. I was making up for lost time. COVID obviously took away, it took away time from me, it took away time from everybody. Everything was closed. You couldn't even do anything. And I went, I ended up going, almost 2 years without fighting at one point. Right? It was not the ideal timing. What I'm saying is, COVID really fucked everything up. And I was just making up for lost time.
Yeah, for sure. And it seems like it's really emboldened the confidence in your hands more so. Obviously you have a vast experience of Taekwondo early on. That seemed to be your grounding and everything like that. And it seems per certain social media posts, the confidence in the hands has gone up. Even though boxing and mixed martial arts, there's different considerations with the hands. It seems like you'd be even that much more confident in the, that aspect of your stand-up game, I suppose.
Well, yeah, like Jeff Jocelyn, right? Like, he basically, he killed the Taekwondo in me, and he just gave me better hands. He made me more of a, and that was from a while ago, but like, he made me into more of a boxer, right? Now I'm just like, I hardly, like, even in sparring, like, I hardly ever kick now. I don't know, like, I feel like it's not necessary, and like, there's times when I do feel kind of lazy to even like get my leg out because I'm doing so well boxing. So, but yeah, like I said, like, Jeff Johnson was like a big part in like just giving me these hands.
Yeah, for sure. It's an interesting time in your career, and just kind of in the context of boxing, it seemed like a cool experience for you to compete in front of old Iron Mike Tyson there. Like, obviously in the binary of winning and losing didn't seem to go your way competitively that night, but it seems like it was a good night to be had overall, and a night full of a varying amount of learning experiences, I would have to think.
Fighting in front of, yeah, you pretty much said it. Like, it could have been, I wish I got the W, but it was still an honor to fight in front of Mike Tyson. It was even like an honor shaking his hand even at the weigh-ins, like literally being like 2 steps away from him. Like, that was definitely surreal. That was, whether I won or lost that fight, that was definitely an amazing experience.
Oh, no doubt, man. A huge figure in combat sports and really pop culture in general. But I was seeing a post you had there even previous to that fight where you're saying this could possibly be your last amateur fight, and as you're readying to make the pro debut now, obviously that turned out to be true. Like, when did you first start contemplating the idea of transitioning to professional fighting?
I mean, at the end of the day, like, you're amateur wide, you go pro. Obviously, that's not just for me. This is for everybody. Like, all fighters, like, they go amateur to make it as a pro. Right? So obviously, it's been planned for a while, but it was really, I think it was like after I won the Cage Wars belt, that's when I really, like, thought, like, hey, you know what, I only won a belt, let's go pro. That didn't really happen quite immediate, but, like, I think even though I lost my last fight, I have a decent record. I still, like, I'm still a G. That's all it is. It's just, I'm sick of amateur fights. Like, I don't want to do amateur fights no more. I want to put my name out there. I want to get paid for this shit. Not that the money is, like, super important, but I want that next level now. I think I'm ready.
Yeah, no doubt. And you strike me as a guy that, like, follows the broader kind of scene. I would think you'd be excited debuting with a promotion like, BTC Fight Promotions that's been pretty active in the Ontario space for a little bit.
And, yeah, and here's another thing. I don't have to travel, like, 6 hours to fight anymore. Well, you know what? I'm probably going to have to at some point again, the farther I go in my career, but for the time being, I'm fighting local, which is amazing. I'm fighting like 20 minutes from my home, which is like even better. All my friends are gonna be there, right? That's a dream come true for me. I'm sick of traveling like to New York or Montreal for 6 hours just to fight. I'm fucking happy it's finally like happening like out in my backyard.
Yeah, I would think there'd be like a pronounced like Hamilton, Ontario contingent out there for that one.
I'm sorry?
I feel like there'd be a pronounced contingent of Hamilton MMA, compatriots coming out for that one.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's a cool point in the career, and your opponent also readying to, get their professional debut going as well. And I mean, it's an interesting case here because with them, they've captured a couple of, amateur featherweight titles with, Nova Fight League and also with Montreal Fight League. But also that being said, it's been a little bit since they've competed. From what I can tell, it looks over, 2.5 years at least since they've competed in mixed martial arts. How do you go about preparing for a contest like this? Is like the inactivity component kind of like making you more so focus on like solely your own individual efforts because maybe you don't necessarily know the kind of Karim that's going to come out after a hiatus like that?
You know what? At the end of the day, like, I'll be ready for anything. Like, that's what it's all gonna come down to. I know, like, Karim, he's like, I never thought I would fight him. I'm happy I'm fighting a tough guy like him. He's very skilled. But yeah, like, whether one comes out one way, comes out the other way, I know he's gonna come at me, and I will oblige. Good luck to him.
Yeah, so he seems like someone you've been aware of for a little bit. Like, why do you say you never thought you'd end up fighting against him?
Well, mainly because he's a featherweight. Like, that's it. We never really crossed paths or anything. Like, it's just, I mean, I guess even when I fought Olivier, never thought I would fight him, but that ended up happening. So, I mean, like, it's just because of different weight classes. Like, he spent all his amateur career at featherweight. And for me, even though I do have featherweight fights, I'm primarily a bantamweight. That's why I never saw this coming. But I welcome it. He's good. Let's get it. Let's put on the show.
Yeah, I guess this would be sort of a hard question to answer, but that is an interesting facet of this fight, just being that he's going to be going down to 135 pounds, and you're more competitively familiar with bantamweight. Like, does he strike you as a guy that has like the kind of physical frame where it would be a more casual weight cut to bantamweight, or do you think there could be possibly like a diminishing return on the gas tank end of things that you could take advantage of?
I can't answer that, honestly. Only time will tell. Only time will tell. I can't really answer that.
Yeah, that's why we get it out there in the cage and see what the score is, I suppose. But I'm kind of wondering, like I mentioned Hamilton a bit earlier, are you still getting in that work at Jocelyn's MMA ahead of this one?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm always at Jocelyn's. Right, but I do go out of my way to go. I'll go to Aegis every now and then to spar.
Oh, nice.
And do the cage work. And actually, that's what helped my game out a lot.
Yeah, I was going to ask you who are some of the primary people you're sparring with, but Aegis seems like it's one of those spaces where you're really working with like the best in Southern Ontario, and to an extent, I mean, Canada by proxy. Just so many great people that go through there.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I've been for the last few months. Taj invited me in, and that really helped my game. Like, just learning under like Lyndon Whitelock, and then like getting to spar some of the best guys, like Suri, Amin, Thomas, like Liam. Vinny, even like many good guys I got to spar with, and they definitely helped my game out.
Yeah, I would think it would be like a great way to gauge where you're at in like the Ontario scene and really overall in Canada. Like, I mean, Siri, a guy you mentioned doing such great things in BFL and everything like that. So I would think it would be a good way to kind of gauge your progression and kind of where you're at in the overall, I guess, hierarchy in the country right now.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, yeah, like I said, like those guys have been really helping my game out lately, and I'm so thankful to have them as like training or sparring partners.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, the gratitude definitely coming across for sure, but you've been really great with your time, Alex. I do want to be mindful of the rest of your schedule, though, man. So to that point, is there maybe anything you might want to add as a parting thought as we're kind of wrapping up here, man?
Get ready for a show, boys. That's all I got to say.
I love it. Short and sweet, and it's going to be a great fight at BTC 17 Evolve that transpires on September the 24th there, and really appreciate you coming on the show and giving great insights, Alex. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day there, and looking forward to being there for the fights and peeping them in person.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, excited to be talking to an individual set to compete at BTC 17, and that goes on September the 24th. It's a bantamweight bout. Alex Gluzman and Karim Henniene getting out there and testing skills, and excited to be welcoming Karim onto the show for the very first time. How's your day going so far, man?
Say it again?
I'm just wondering how your day's going so far.
Oh, my day is perfect. I just got into my last sparring session this morning at TrackFit, and everything's going fine. Like, for one of the first time since a long time, I don't have any injury coming to that fight, so I'm really feeling good.
Yeah, I was seeing on Tapology and SureDog that you work out of TriStar. Who were you getting in that sparring work with?
Yeah, right now I'm most doing my sparring at TrackFit, at TrackFit boxing.
That's awesome. Who are you getting in the work with there? Like, who were you sparring with?
Oh, yeah, it's with Charles Azoulay, Cédric Lochard, Jonathan Ramundi. That's all my main sparring partner for that camp.
Yeah, this is an interesting fight in a lot of regards, though. Just getting ready to, make the pro debut as is your opponent. You put the 5-0 record together as an AME based on some of the aggregators out there. Why did now feel like the time to go pro?
Yeah, actually, I have like a little bit more fight than that, because I fight on some fight that they were considered, how can I say, they were considered exhibition, but it was an exhibition. It was still MMA fight. So I have like maybe like two more than what it say on Tapology. But yeah, I was supposed to go pro like way before, like since 2020. After my last fight, I was ready to go pro, but after all that pandemic hit and all this stuff, I just kept training, and my skill level just got better. So I'm even more ready than I was 2 years ago.
Yeah, because it's an interesting scenario. It's been a little bit since you've competed, but it doesn't strike me as a situation where you're not, actively training, obviously. So, yeah, I feel like it's an exciting sort of thing. I feel like you'd almost be showing a new version of yourself coming out here for this one.
Exactly. And during that time, I had the chance to do a training camp at Stanford MMA in Florida for like over 5 weeks, and yeah, that was too a lot of experience that I wouldn't get before my pro debut if I did it in 2020. So yeah, now I definitely have more knowledge and more skills than I had 2 years ago.
Yeah, such a great space there. Like, what did you, get up to when you were there? Like, who were you mostly working with? Like Sanford, which is, now Killcliff FC, such great fighters internationally. Like, who were you, like, honing skills with?
Yeah, like my main like sparring partner, that was a guy who is called Adamu. He also made his pro debut, I think, last summer. But like the person who really like guided me up there, it was how is it called? The guy who had war with Rory McDonald.
Robbie Lawler.
Yeah, Robbie Lawler. Sorry, I'm tired.
No,
Robbie Lawler really like coaches me during my sparring. He really liked my style. He got me. He gave me like some incredible tips, and yeah, that was the guy who really like helped me up there when I was sparring.
Yeah, that'd be an awesome experience. Just a guy that's been in the sport for so many generations, really. So yeah, that's awesome. You got to learn from him.
Yeah, of course. That was really an incredible experience, really a lot of knowledge. And since today, there's some things that he told me during my sparring that I'm still using today, and it really worked.
Yeah, that's awesome. Something I'm noticing too, though, that I find to be interesting is like normally you've competed at featherweight, but this one's going to be at bantamweight. Like, how has the training been amended for this one? Like, is there a certain methodology for getting ready for bantamweight that maybe differs from getting ready for featherweight?
I always knew I will fight at bantamweight because I never like go over 155. Like the bigger I can get, it's 155. So like for like all these couple months, I was walking around 150, 152. The bigger I got, so it was like really easy. Like obviously, like before when I was competing at 145, like I didn't have to check what I eat or anything. I was just doing like 2 hours sauna, and that's it. I was ready to go at 145. But for now, I just had like to cut all the sugar for like all my camp, and that's it. I just have a little bit more strict nutrition, but nothing hard. It's like I have like 10 pounds to lose, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I was curious if that was going to be the case because, yeah, I mean, obviously you picked up like the Nova Fight League and MFL featherweight belts and are ranked in Quebec in that division on Tapology, but you felt like with your body type you were always going to eventually be a bantamweight, but maybe decided to wait it out until you turned pro before you made that switch.
Yeah, exactly. I was waiting to turn pro because an amateur, the weight, it's most likely the same day, so I don't want like to cut too much water. But since now in pro, I will have like more than 24 hours to get back to everything. It's not a big deal. And when I was like sparring, like mainly at TriStar, everybody that I knew up there that were 135, they were bigger than me. Like in general, like when I'm talking like. Amen, Mirsad, and all these guys, they were walking like at 160 plus, and I was always like smaller than them. So I was like, yo, for sure, I will go like 135 when I turn pro.
Yeah, and a good promotion it would seem to turn pro with, just because BTC Fight Promotions has been doing some great stuff in the last few years and everything like that. So yeah, good promotion to be debuting with, especially like in this area that we're in within the country.
Yeah, of course. BTC, like I was looking for them to do my pro debut for a long time, and they're doing really a good job to promoting like the next generation. Like they like I feel like they may be like the only one who give like the opportunity to like people who making like pro debut or really early in their career to like have the chance to win a five-figure a five-figure check. Like I feel like they're doing like a $10,000 tournament for people like with five combat and less. So yeah, they're really giving good opportunity for people, for the folks who starting their pro journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did mention from the top someone else starting their pro journey, your opponent here, Alex Gluzman, and he's, collected certain amateur belts like the Cage Wars belt and has some experience in MFL title fights as well. Was this someone you were already like familiar with to a degree when the bout agreement kind of came your way and everything?
Not at all. I never knew who he was. Like the only thing I asked like my sparring partner, do you know these guys? And one of my friends, Charles Azoulay, told me yes, he saw him fighting before him, and that's it. But no, I didn't know nothing about him before they offered me him.
I was going to say, have you since looked in to see if you can find any fight footage, or is it more about focusing on your own individual refinement so you can be more like adaptable for wherever the fight goes when it happens?
Yeah, exactly. Now, for me, it's always focused on myself. Like, it's about what I'm going to do, not what he's going to do. I can't control what he's going to do, but I can control what I'm going to do. So I'm really focusing on myself. My coach have watched some of it, and that's it. He will guide me through it, and but for my part, I'm just focusing on myself, and for watching tapes and all the stuff, my coach can get me through him. I have full trust in him.
Yeah, and who is doing that game planning? Like, which coach is kind of helming that part of what you're doing now?
Yeah, it's the coach at the Track Fit, Coach Will, and that's it. He's a really good for MMA. He have some pro fight himself. He have a guy George St. Pierre during his career, so he has pretty good knowledge in terms of MMA. Like I'm not like taking a jiu-jitsu coach or a boxing coach. Like I have a jiu-jitsu coach and a boxing coach, but my main coach, I always wanted to be like someone who have experience in MMA straight up. So he have really good experience in MMA, so he know what's up. So he's making the game plan for me.
And that's also in the Quebec area, I would assume, correct?
Yeah, exactly. It's not that far from TriStar. It's like maybe like 5 minutes away from it.
Yeah, it seems like there's a great combat sports scene out there. I would think that you would have like innumerable people you'd be able to work with where you're under the, proverbial learning tree, just like growing and constantly learning.
Exactly, yeah. And where I'm training right now, it's really like more focuses on us, like the up and comer. You know what I'm saying? Because when you go like in the two like big gym, like they already have their UFC fighter, Bellator fighter, so they don't really care if you're doing your pro debut or amateur. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm in like maybe like a smaller gym, but they're really giving the time and the energy for us to achieve what we want to achieve.
Yeah, almost more like individual attention to what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I love to hear that, man. It seems like a great time in the career, and you definitely seem like a dedicated martial artist. But I'm also kind of curious, like, if there's any, like, hobbies or interests that you kind of, ensconce yourself with outside of fighting. Like, do you get up to anything to unwind or anything like that? Any interests or hobbies out of fighting?
Yeah, I really love I love gymnastic. I do a lot of gymnastic too. I go up there in Laval. I have a gymnastic center when I do my thing, and that's it. Everything that have some adrenaline to provide, I'm gonna be into. I also looking forward to do my court to do skydiving. I already do a couple jumps skydiving, but now I'm looking to do my class to be able to jump alone. So yeah, everything that give adrenaline, I'm into it.
Yeah, that all sounds awesome, man. And gymnastics is great as well. I would think that provides some level of benefit to what you're doing in combat sports and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I think we all a fan of George St. Pierre at some part, especially here in Canada. He's like the guy who brought us really to the sport. So yeah, if you take it as a role model, gymnastic is something that you should look for when you're doing MMA for mobility, flexibility, and even cardio. It's a different type of cardio. So yeah.
Yeah, it seems like there's like so many great benefits, but it's been great having you on the show, man. Awesome getting to talk to you ahead of this big pro debut and everything, but I do want to be mindful of the rest of your schedule as well. So to that point, is there maybe anything you might want to add as a parting thought as we're kind of wrapping up?
No, that's it. I'm ready to go and can't wait for Saturday, 24th September. That's it.
Yeah, it's going to be a great bantamweight fight at BTC 17 Evolve. Going to be interesting to see Alex Gluzman and, Karim Henniene get out there to the cage and everything. And just, yeah, super excited to see that fight. And I do appreciate you coming on the show to reiterate. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day there, man. And looking forward to checking out the fight too.
I appreciate it. Thank you for your time too.